That model is also problematic as well, the friendship model, because it doesn't seem sustainable for a long period of time. So
a lot of truth to that too. Yeah.
like you guys will inevitably break up at some point, and you got to be prepared for the breakup. And that's why I like doing this by myself.
And yeah, a lot of times I kind of zoom out and I'm like, me and Ack's careers are not so different aside from the fact that he's really doubled down on himself. Everything's about himself. Very, very low overhead. Does all this content by himself. Me, I've really invested in trying to build out this network of different hosts. And sometimes I think to myself, well, like, should I just be like a YouTube essayist? Should I get like a team going of little writers helping me to like put together like, oh, let's talk about how this rapper fell off and let's talk about this. And like, you know, maybe that would be the smarter business move rather than me like really chasing after this idea of having all these co-hosts and stuff. But, you know, one thing to give more credit to my op, Joe Budden, I think he said like, y'all are competing with me when I just do this for fun.
Okay.
Which we all do it for money as well. Yeah. But I like thinking about it that way because realistically, I don't have to do this. I feel driven to do this. And as soon as I don't want to do this, I assume I'll be not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah. I always kind of thought that you could do that Rogan thing where you just, maybe your channel just becomes you interviewing people.
Yeah. I mean, I could do that, but
like episode 15,000 of, but
that is kind of what I'm doing. But then we also have like the group.
Yeah. But I'm saying like
everything,
downside, like I don't want to talk about, I'm not, yeah. That sounds crazy for me to suggest.
I mean, you know, I listen to Sam Harris a lot, and the other day he said that somebody recently turned him down to do a podcast, and that was the first time that had happened to him, that someone turned him down to be on his podcast.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, must be nice. Because I've had conversations with Vlad where we would say, you know, he'll send out 100 DMs on Instagram and get like a handful of people that are down to do it.
Yeah.
And we consider that a pretty decent rate. You know, if you can get a 4 or 5% success rate, it's like if you talk to 100 girls and you fuck 5 of them, we're in business.
Yeah.
You're killing it.
I feel like doing the same thing you did to me during this interview. Will Andrew Schulz leave Charlemagne?
I mean, how well does The Brilliant Idiots do? That's
really well.
That's a podcast that if I had more time, I would definitely listen to it more. I do listen to it from time to time, but
I think it does well for it being a second option for both men.
Yeah, and I think it's smart for Andrew to keep 1 foot hip-hop adjacent, you know? Mm-hmm. But, I mean, yeah, it's got to be a little bit of a weird decision given that Flagrant is fucking gigantic at this point.
Yeah, Andrew Schulz is kind of like, it's tough now to even delineate who was more impactful to his career, Charlemagne or Rogan. Like, it's like he's becoming...
I think Rogan for sure, right? Remember that clip of Charlemagne saying that...
I'm going to do a video about that.
That the Breakfast Club is just as big as Joe Rogan?
Very delusional.
Oh. That really made me feel like, damn, bro, you live in a bubble. You live in a bubble that is really shielding you from what's going on in the world out here.
Yeah, it would be like, I'm trying to think of a basketball player saying he's better than LeBron. Like, or like he's more impactful, but that's sports. But yeah, that was insane. And I think Schulz broke Charlemagne's heart. And it was interesting to see Schulz have to apologize and be like, you mean so much to me, Charlemagne. And that's how like crazy it got. But
we haven't seen what Joe Rogan's YouTube numbers look like in a few years, but I feel like he interviews like random dudes who are like not the biggest deal in the world, and the full interview would get like many millions of views.
Crazy.
You know, he's interviewing like Tony Hawk or something. Did he do Tony Hawk? Fuck. Did he do Tony Hawk? I don't remember.
Probably did.
But I think I remember like just noticing that at one point. I'm like, oh, he interviewed Tony Hawk and it's been out for 24 hours and it has 2.5 million views. And there's nobody hip hop wise that could touch that at all.
It's insane. Like he can interview a janitor that works at a museum and he'll probably get like tons of views. Like he's just the way he does things. And I think his YouTube exit created so many people because the algorithm was like, yo, we got to create. And I think Schulz maybe may have filled the void.
I don't think of Joe Rogan as somebody who's thinking about the competition between podcasts. I think that he's like just so successful that he doesn't have to think about that at all. But you definitely probably are right that opened up a big space for more on YouTube. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and I'm like, do you have any questions for me, man? I don't know.
What's next for Danny from the stop? Like, where could you see yourself taking this? Will you ever start a podcast? People are going to be commenting saying, Adam, you should hire Danny after this too.
Why would you say that?
I don't know. They say that about anybody that I have a good conversation with.
Oh, well, it's a good conversation. The thing is, like I was watching Mr. Beast on Flagrant, right? And he was trying to do the interview. He was being cool. But like halfway through it, he's like, so this is what you guys do, right? You do this long form stuff, right? And it was like, he was like going in his head and he noticed that this is crazy to sit down for 2 hours. What about my retention? What about the retention of the people watching? And I feel like a podcast, man, there's just so many people doing such long content. And I like being like small bites of content. I like taking what you guys do and maybe someday being a podcaster myself, but I want to tell stories about y'all breaking up. I want to do a podcast about, maybe I'll do a podcast about No Jumper breaking up one day and be like, The Fall. What led these two men in different directions? AD and Ad, like that type of stuff. I want to do a narrative podcast.
Because, yeah, exactly. Narrative podcast. Because if you look at political or if you look at, you know, a little bit more lofty genres of podcasts, quite often their narrative, they put, you know, dozens or you know, hundreds of hours into a single episode in some cases. Now, granted, those are being like kind of held afloat by these big corporate sponsors and entities that own them and shit like that. But I mean, I do feel like there's probably a big future in that for hip hop. But actually, I guess it's played out through like the hip hop essayists, the YouTube essayists, right?
Exactly. Yeah, like I think my channel could kind of do that for like somebody who wants to know about the Joe Budden breakup with Rogan Mall. But yeah, I don't know. There's a great story to tell about all of you guys. Like I said, there's one of the influences on my channel was Jim Miller. I don't know if you know Jim Miller, but he writes about SNL, right? Like he writes about the dynamic at SNL. He writes about the dynamic on HBO, and that's what I think I can be for hip hop. Right? I can write the dynamic between people, and if I become a personality and people like me, then that's money in the bank. But yeah.
Do you want to know one of my worst Joe Budden experiences that I don't think I've ever talked about on camera?
Obviously, I do.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a note of this.
When I got married in Italy, cost many, many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars for this wedding, right? But we decided, fuck it, we've been together 7 years at that point. We're going to do it. We're going to do this crazy ass wedding, invite her family, my family, bunch of friends, whatever. We go out there and we spent a significant amount of time creating a playlist for the DJ to play, mapping out a lot of our favorite songs throughout the years, songs that meant something to us, etc. And then when it finally comes time for the DJ to start playing music, he just starts playing a bunch of random shit. And some of it was like American pop music that I wasn't even familiar with. Some of it was like, you know, like oldies or Motown or whatever, but it would be like, you're playing this Marvin Gaye song. Like there's fucking, like we had 3 Marvin Gaye songs on the fucking playlist and they were all bangers and you're playing this weird ass, you know, it was like just very upsetting. And apparently the list just like didn't even exist by this point. Or I don't know if like we just didn't even care enough at that point. We were a little drunk to like actually stand up to the DJ and like tell him like play these songs. Like, I mean, I don't even know if he would have had Wi-Fi to fucking download it, whatever, who knows. But either way, at a certain moment, and keep in mind, this is like 3 months, 2 months after the No Jumper breakup, in which I also had this, you know, little verbal war with Joe Budden, and I'm at my wedding, and they play Pump It Up.
They always Pump It Up is big. That's a big.
Yeah, but when you're in Italy,
you don't want to hear
you
that.
kind of think maybe Pump It Up didn't make its way out here.
Why don't you IG live and then do the Drake like, there you go, Joey.
That would have been funny. I don't know.
Who else but Joey?
My mind wasn't there. I've also been banned on Instagram Live for like many years.
Oh, that's
but
heartbreaking.
That would have been pretty fucking funny. Yeah, Drake did bust that move. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that's how Drake. He's like the kryptonite to Joe.
You think Drake will ever get the Joe Budden appearance?
Hell no. Drake got all the. I don't know if to include you. I don't know if you abide for it, but he got all the podcasters on the string posting pictures of Drake. Like, yo, we gonna get a Drake. He's not interview. He's not gonna sit down with y'all. I think I have a better chance of getting a Drake interview. Why would he need to sit down? And the reason I say I have a better shot is because I don't think nobody has any real tangible shot.
I think if he had a podcast that he really fucked with, he would do it. He would definitely probably still want to control the edit. I could see him doing it, but I don't know. I don't think he fucks with Ack like that. I don't think he fucks with me like that, even though me and Ack both talk to him, but I don't think he fucks with us like that. I don't think he fucks with Joe like that. Definitely doesn't fuck with Charlemagne like that. Maybe somebody like Gillian Wallow, or even like, you know, Drake would do some fly shit, like do something with Cam and Mace. You know?
Possibly.
Because they're not like a threat in the same way. They're not in the rat race. They're kind of doing their own niche. But also it's kind of like, you know, he can't go do the fucking Club Shay Shay thing because it already is like Cat Williams just solidified that shit. And like, yeah, a lot of celebrities have been lining up to do it after, but I feel like Drake would want to be the one doing the Cat Williams style appearance on a certain podcast. So I bet if I'm him, I've got that in my mind that I'm going to pick a certain podcast. He did tell me he was going to do No Jumper at one point. I think it was 2017 Instagram DM.
Damn, he was mad popping. I thought you were like 2008. He told me.
You want to know the thing though?
What?
I think the only reason he was asking me that was because he was picking out every single person that was close to X and getting in between and fucking with, because his beef with X was real. Remember, he went to fucking Miami and shot the God's Plan video and gave out money to everybody. Like, just a coincidence. I'm in your city and I'm doing like all this stuff to make myself look like a great person. He does the song with Trippie Redd at that time when X and Trippie were super close. He gets in touch with me, follows me, tells me that he wants to do No Jumper. I mean, granted, maybe you
were a pawn in this war.
Maybe he was thinking about doing No Jumper at that point. Yeah. But I think that the primary reasoning might have been that he wanted to sort of get in there and be cool. That's a unique way of beefing, though. You only do nice stuff. You don't do anything negative. You only just fuck with, you do nice things. You give out money in his city, and then you become friends with all of his friends so that they cause potential turmoil. We never even got to that point. Me and X never had a conversation about it, I don't think, but
Drake is a scary dude. Like, as far as like just the things he can do, like, yeah, sleep with your like mom or something. Like he could do all types of things to you. Like the way he gets busy with the beef is like so unique to him and so different than like his predecessors that I don't think people can really even hang with him. And I know now it sounds like I'm trying to praise Drake, but I think I love his music. But the way he plays like is really unique to him.
You should go to Ice's neighborhood and hand out turkeys. And make a whole vlog. You'd be so triggered. And you can't really talk shit about it because it's like you're doing something good. That he probably, I don't know. I don't want to take that away from him if he's ever given out turkeys. But.
Because Ice, it was interesting. Like, it got to the point where I felt bad about what I was saying about Ice because he was so visibly triggered. And it's kind of interesting. I don't know if that ever happened to you where you talk about somebody and you see the effect and then you start to think like maybe I should like chill. But yeah, I'll learn.
Yeah, I've been there, but you know, if you believe it, you believe it. End of the day, yeah.